yeah, the WRX is officially ready. Alright, so it is another beautiful day in the Afro Garage. So today is another classic case where honestly this is just normal now. Anything getting done more than 2 days beforehand or before an event is just like impossible. So that being said, obviously the S2K is done with grid life stuff for the year. There is an autocross this Sunday, but I'm not making it because it's this girl's time to shine again. She has not gotten to go racing since like April. So yeah, if you do the math, it's like 5 months. Jesus, has it really been 5 months? So basically, I have a really bad habit, especially with this car, of riding her hard and putting her away wet. So basically, I usually don't find out about stuff that's wrong with it until about a week before it's time to race because I just have been really, really busy working on cutting that down. So that being said, this car, since the last Rallycross, well, basically I had a ball joint that was going out, and I was like, okay, well I've got a wheel bearing on one side and a ball joint on the other side, so let's go ahead and replace all of this stuff. And then the ball joint on this side was totally seized in place, and I had to heat it in order to get it out, which destroyed it. So the ball joint I was gonna put on the driver's, on the driver's side, ended up going on the passenger side. And I was like, all right, well, this is making noise, but it'll be fine. Well, it went bad enough at the last Rallycross event that it wallered out the actual socket it goes into the control arm. So now I need a new control arm on that, as well as a new ball joint and new wheel bearings on both sides. So, yeah. Just replaced the one wheel bearing and it's coming right back out. So basically today all I'm going to do, which I'm not going to do much time-lapsey stuff on it because it's all boring stuff. Down the road, I replace enough wheel bearings. I will actually do something informative in terms of wheel bearing stuff. But my other GoPro still has not turned up. I need to clean the house and see if it maybe got shuttled away into some drawer or some box by somebody else or something. But until then, proper vlog production is going to be a little bit funky because I need a camera that I can just grab while my hands are dirty, and I try not to do that to my fancy phone. So that being said, at least for this one, no cool time-lapsey stuff because, you know, same issues as usual. But in the future, next time I do wheel bearings and other stuff like that on this, I'll actually cover it better. But in the meantime, like I said, this is just sort of the prologue to getting back into Rallycross, which is the one sport, at least. So right now, in St. Louis region, I'm modified all-wheel drive champion, first place last year, second place year before that. But at the end of the day, I still don't necessarily know whether or not St. Louis region is competitive against other regions, because I haven't gone to a national event. Our national tour kind of got botched, and I ended up giving up the rest of my event to make sure that it ran properly or as well as it could have. So I didn't get to really slot myself up. And then right now the goal was to go to nationals this year, but unfortunately right now I'm waitlisted. It's kind of funky because they say 125 people. There's only 124 people signed up right now, and I'm still waitlisted. But I assume it's because they have someone that isn't accounted for, or something's funky there. So right now I'm just waiting. Obviously, when it comes to big events, most of the cancellations happen in the 2 weeks prior to the event. So I've got a couple of weeks before we can expect that to start rolling through. So hopefully I get in and I actually get to see how she slots up against everybody else. But if not, then in the very least, you know, I'm gonna keep on striving for that local chapter championship. So like I said, I think that the car has been perfectly sorted throughout most of the year, or the last couple of years. So I'm just gonna go out and do fast stuff. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and do the things I say. Yeah, it's like just like I said, it's like wheel bearings on both sides, ball joint on one side. I've got some things that leak. I'm not gonna worry about those tonight. I do need to worry about it over the winter though, so I gotta get that taken care of, and just a lot of stuff to make sure that she's running happy. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna do for today. So like I said, I'll follow up. I'll probably shoot some quick shots of, you know, any damage or funky stuff or any of the stuff I've been talking about, but that's about it for today. The rest of it's all gonna be Rallycross stuff. Okay, so that actually did not go too bad at all. I'm like, let's see, I started at this at like 7:45, so Yeah, I'm about 2 hours in. It normally goes faster, but my freaking on the passenger side, even though it was, I tore that corner apart just like a few months ago, but the tie rod did not want to freaking budge. Like, I have a tie rod separator, like a proper little, like this little guy, that little guy. And when I went to actually, like, I'm not showing you anything exciting or innovative. I'm not going to show you it on that side because there's no light. But, you know, basically, and there's no control arm on this side. So, you know what? I'm being dumb. Anyway, long story short, had to give it a little bit of heat. So, like, literally, I had it, like, as tight as I could physically muster on my tie rod separator. And then as soon as I gave it some heat, the whole thing exploded. Yeah, obviously, it didn't actually explode, but anybody who's ever done a tie rod or a ball joint knows when it goes, it's bang. So, anywho, like I said, basically, I don't have a good way to show you with this phone. Let me see if I can do it. Let's see. You guys are gonna go on a little adventure. There we go, perfect. So you see how it's kind of like this pretty little inset circle? Yeah, it's not supposed to be inset like that. That's because that nut was loose and the ball joint was all wibble wobbly, so it kind of grinded its way in there. But to be honest, I'm not sure why they recommend that I replace it for that. It could just be that, it'll set in and do weird stuff now, or it might have looked different than I remembered. I should actually look at the other side. So here, let's look at the other side together with the light, because without light you can't see jack. So if I go to the other side here, let's take a look. So, hi, my pretty face, and then actually honestly doesn't look massively different. So I'm not sure what he meant when he said, because oh, by the way, the he that I mentioned, I went to Ecotech to get the car safety and emissions tested, and they are the ones who actually noticed it. And so they're like, yeah, get that fixed. And I was like, yeah, I should get that fixed. So, anywho, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put it back together because I was going to replace the control arm like they recommended, as well as do a bunch of bushings. But I found out that this little puppy is kind of screwed because the sedans, because they're wide-bodied, they actually have slightly different control arms. And the extra fun thing is this generation of Impreza, most of them were wide bodies. There's narrow and to add into the spiciness. So long story short is that for the sedans, the non-WRXs have one type of control arm, and the WRXs and STIs have another type of control arm. The WRXs and the STIs are interchangeable because they have the same wide body. Whereas if you have the WRX wagon, the arms are different than the Impreza because it's a WRX, and it doesn't share the same arms as the sedan because the wagon is it's a narrow body. So because of that, the only control arms that work on this car properly are from the 02 to 04 to 07 WRX wagon and the Subaru. So yeah, so long story short is that I was not able to find a WRX wagon control arm anywhere locally. So I'm just going to bolt it together as is, and it'll be fine. Because, my car, it's going to race for exactly 5 to 8 laps, and then it's going to sit. So it's really not that big of a concern for me. And if I make it worse, boo-hoo, I was already going to replace the control arm. So, like I said, right now, I'll show you guys a better view of it. I'm sorry I keep getting into your face. There's not an easy way to reach my controls on my phone. So, you can see, that's the corner apart. I got this guy up here right now because I need this ball joint. You can see how the boot is completely fookered. So I'm going to undo that bolt and then pop this little guy out. For any of you guys, so I actually, despite the fact that I notoriously buy like tools for very specific jobs, I actually don't have the right tool for this job. I keep putting it off. So instead, what I have is I have this little piece of fitting. Don't ask me what size it is. I don't know. I bought it like 3 or 4 years ago. I literally brought my ball joint with me to Home Depot and then fitted it that way. But basically, so basically, all I do is I go, and I slot this guy over that, and then I take this little piece of flat, whatever you want to call it, and I put it down there. This isn't down all the way. I'm just showing you as a quick example. But once you put this down all the way, you can actually put the nut on there. And once you get the nut on there, a few threads, then I basically just wham upward on this with a hammer, and it pops the ball joint out. So, not the most elegant tool in the world, and but it works. So that's going to be the next thing, is just getting that ball joint out, getting the new ball joint in, and then I have to do wheel bearings, which it's kind of funky. So he told me, I don't know if there's play somewhere else in my chassis, but like because he told me bad wheel bearing, front and right, but when I took them off, they really weren't like that bad from what I normally know they are. But I already have the wheel bearings, might as well replace them, and then I'm just gonna bolt everything back up together, and it should be solid. If I still have play after that, I gotta figure it out. But like I said, if it's not wheel bearing, I'm not super worried about it, because the two weakest links, the wheel bearing, the ball joint, or sorry, the multiple weakest links, the tie rod, ball joint, wheel bearing, spindle, etc., all those things will be solid, so nothing's going to come off. It's probably just a bad bushing, because my bushings are as old as the car. All the other money I've put into the car, and my bushings are looking like Prince Harry. So anywho, yeah, like I said, gonna go ahead and get those wheel bearings out. I will try. I'm probably not going to document most of it because it is a disgusting process with lots of grease. So it's really hard to keep your hands clean and do stuff. But like I said, I'm just going to keep on finishing that up, and hopefully I'll be done tonight, which is ahead of schedule because I was expecting to work on it tomorrow, but we'll see. Alright, so by the way, I just decided to do a quick interim update, but just so you guys can conceptually see it. This is what happens when it comes out. You got the ball joint, and then it's all held together here, and basically you do have to hit you have to hit left and right, because the ball joint will pivot, because you can see how it's already like at a slight angle, so it'll just angle back and forth. But you just hit it up on the left, and then you hit it up on the right, and then you hit it up on the left, and you hit it up on the right, and you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and eventually it goes pop and comes right out. So like I said, inelegant tool, but it costs like $8 at Home Depot. Woo! So anywho, like I said, that's the only ball joint I have to replace. The other thing too that I would mention, so when I first did ball joints on my WRX many moons ago, they had never been taken apart before. And fun fact, this bolt that goes through here, completely seized. I actually snapped the head off of it, and then spent like 2 weekends trying to figure, because this was before I understood bolt extraction and stuff like that. So that being said, if yours comes out with ease, then awesome. And if it does, but one thing you want to especially make sure to do is put anti-seize on there, because that will seize up pretty bad over the years. That being said, yeah, I put anti-seize on mine. I've never actually tested to see how quickly it'll seize up without anti-seize, because I never wanted to do it again. But if you do get stuck with that bolt, as many people do, you will probably, if you snap the head off of it like I did, you'll have to get some cobalt bits. Don't try and do it with don't try and do it with a lot of things. So you can actually buy like reverse pitch drill bits, which will help kind of like loosen the screw up while you're drilling out. But push come to shove, buy yourself some cobalt drill bits, put your drill setting on low speed, and drill with a with a small drill bit through the middle of it, and try to get it as center as you can. If you can get a punch or something to knock it into the center, then get that, and then drill a hole through it, and then get a bolt extractor kit and try that. I ended up breaking my bolt extractor off inside of the bolt on top of that. So in the end, I actually ended up getting whole new spindles, because I didn't have the tools or the know-how at the time. But what you would end up doing is, honestly, don't push it with the bolt extractor. If the bolt still doesn't want to budge, don't break it off like I did. So if it doesn't come off with maybe like 30-40 foot-pounds, don't risk breaking it, and instead just drill the whole thing out and re-tap it or helicoil it. The tools for helicoils are cheap, or you can just take it to a shop and have them helicoil it. If you're in the St. Louis area, hit up Ecotech. They can do it for you. But that's pretty much the solution there. And then the other thing too is to make your life easier for future ball joint removals. You can kind of see how there's like a lot of crap in there. You're gonna want to clean that up. Like take like a wire wheel or a wire brush and clean all of that up and make these surface sides as clean as possible before you put the ball joint in, it'll make it a lot easier to get the ball joint into that socket. And then also go ahead and I used a mixture of just WD-40, not this. This is actually dry lube for something else. I use a mixture of WD-40 and just anti-seize, and like I said, all those things help it go in. And there's probably a more proper way to do it. I think you're supposed to try and do it with a press, but you'd need to make like a jig. I'm gonna do wide angle. You need to make like a jig to hold it like upright like this, and you'd have to have a press. So don't bother with that. Basically, what you'll want to do is instead just tap it in with a hammer. As long as you clean up that hole properly and lube it up properly, just going like tap 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 tap, not that light, but give it some good. Use just like a regular hammer, not like a baby sledge, just like a regular hammer, and just go tap 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 tap, and it'll scoot its way in and kind of seat itself. So do be careful because your tapping will sometimes tilt the angle of it. So just make sure you're not hammering down the threads and bending the base of it, and try and straighten it out as you can to make sure it goes in nice and straight. But it's not super terrible as long as you clean it and lubricate it. If you try and put it in dry, it'll go in, but it'll fight you the whole way, and you'll have to hit it with the force of God. Like, it's crazy how much of a difference lubricating that does. So, anywho, that's it with that. I've got to finish putting this together, and then, like I said, the wheel bearing stuff is so gross, I'm probably not going to show a lot of that, so